Okay. How do you keep doing that? I thought you were it. Everything I make with this hammer eventually turns against me. I don't know why. I don't know why. It's the second time this has happened. It's a pattern. It is a pattern. Since we last spoke, I was searching for power. Of course, couldn't find any. So what I did do was I thought I'd try and appease it this time by offering to make it look pretty. Didn't like that, so on retrospect, why would it? So now it's trying to kill me. Of course it is. Yeah. Would you like to see what I tried to do to make it look pretty? No? Tough shit. Come on, guys.
Looking at the world as it is now, it's fine. There's some terrain, grass, trees and buildings. Thanks to the dog, you'd be forgiven for assuming this was set in Chernobyl. Nature reclaiming its land, void of human life. Only echoes of history.
And it's going to stay that way. Look, if I can't even introduce a butterfly without it wanting to f***ing kill me, I'm not introducing people anytime soon.
To start, I added water. My first foray into making shaders. No clue what I was doing, needs some work, it turned out okay. Then I added some particle effects for the wind. Had some issues with transparency, it's okay. But I wanted something that would give this cold, dead world a little more life, some movement. That's when I thought about adding butterflies.
Since it's small, or at least it's supposed to be, and stylised, which is just my excuse for not studying the anatomy of a butterfly. I modelled a small body, its wings, and made a half-decent texture, and it all looked pretty decent in game, as you can hopefully tell. But as we have learned, they fly. So I needed to make it fly. I also made this rock just now, just for this bit. Thank God, right?
We could give this little guy some bones for traditional animation, but I was unsure if loads of those on screen would introduce performance overhead. I remember watching some kind of video about video game birds being animated by shaders. Shaders! This bloody word is everywhere.
The little magic programs designed by GPU wizards. Determining how they're rendered geometry and how each pixel of said geometry is rendered. That really sent me off kilter. What the f?
Awestruck and mustering up my limited experience with them, I used a sine wave and animated the wings, avoiding rigging and animating in Blender and passing the work over to the GPU. There's most probably a better way to do this, but my artistic brain mutated atoms themselves to create something I had envisioned, and to be honest, it was exactly what I needed. I didn't need anything flashy. This was completely fine. I just wanted a butterfly that flies around some patrol points, lands on a flower, and repeats. But a whisper in the back of my mind, like a breeze in the dark. I've been here before. A while ago, I recreated Mr. X from Resident Evil 2 Remake by building a behaviour tree from scratch. You should definitely check that out, by the way. It turned out great, but it needs more time to prove before being used in a complete game. However, that means more time. Development time.
Something I really struggle with is deciding between creating my own solutions or using existing packages or libraries. I plan to make another video about this, but the bottom line is that it comes from an obsession of wanting to understand everything. Anything that you use, anything that you see or want to replicate online, everything. It's the idea that if I don't understand the underlying concepts of what I'm learning or trying to use 100%, then I don't understand it at all, which is a really frustrating mindset to have. Choosing to mature my behavior tree system or choosing the popular LimboAI package for Godot exacerbated this existential mindset. Long story short, and one book later, while also allowing myself to let go and pulling that stick or this hammer wedged so far up my arse out, I allowed myself to pick LimboAI.
LimboAI is a mature and popular AI package within Godot, capable of both state machines and behavior trees. It also means that I can focus on creating and structuring behaviors I want instead of pissing around with the system. After studying the documentation and taking time to actually learn the tool, I created a flower, made it sway, and nailed it all together with a code hammer. What I ended up with brings a little bit more life to this wasteland of a world. But just to add a little more, I added a fun interactive detail where the butterfly actually lands on your nose if you stay still near it long enough.
As you're probably aware by now, my first area is trying to be a farm. I want some more things that give it the impression it's a farm, maybe something even interactable, to be honest, because this barn isn't going to cut. Jesus, it doesn't look very. It needs some TLC, really, doesn't it? Gee, I haven't really noticed that until now. Sorry. We'll give it some TLC later. But you're probably thinking that I added a cow or a chicken, some sort of animal, right? Farm animal. That's probably the first thing you'd go to. Wheat. I went for wheat. I made some wheat. No clue, mate. Not a clue.
I started by searching for models online, but the ones I found needed significant modification, had texture issues, or didn't really fit the style I was looking for. One deep, eternal sigh later, again, I began to no, sorry, that's not wheat. That looks like constipated lavender. No, it's fine. It's fine. Let's try again. Okay, maybe this was harder than I thought it'd be. Days passed. I'm not kidding. This absolutely bewildered me for some reason. I did finally get something I was happy with though, but if there's going to be loads of these in an area, the geometry needs to be greatly reduced. So I rendered the model as an image and converted it into a texture to be used by two intersecting planes, each with loop cuts to allow them to bend. Then I thought it'd be a great idea to come up with the idea of player deformation for some reason. I wanted to drag this out by 16,000 years apparently, but it turned out to be more straightforward than I thought it'd be, which kind of makes me feel like I've created a performance time bomb somewhere, but I guess I'll find that one day. Having it affect the vertexes at Y coordinate and scaling the offset by the height again was a quick way to give the impression that it was actually bending.
I'm genuinely surprised at how satisfying it feels to actually move through the wheat. It's obviously not realistic, but it looks cool and feels great when it reacts to you moving through it. Of course, density of these things is something I'm still trying to figure out. As you can see, it looks a little dark on the stems when they're clustered together. But that's something that comes with time. But I wasn't quite done there.
A few more bits and bobs I wanted to add were things like a fake light shaft shader for adding emphasis on areas of the level and to save on resources where I explicitly want them to be instead of relying on actual volumetric light shafts. Of course, a fence model. Who wouldn't want a fence in their farm? I took this as a chance to play around with a more stylistic design. I actually tried out Material Maker for the first time, texturing here. Highly recommend. I actually just used the wood node actually, but I'm not telling you that. Reminder, edit this out. Something worth mentioning was I tried to be smart with the UV map for the fences by placing each plank within the UV map in respect of each other so that they can all reference a single texture and bake, so each plank can keep the texture variation when creating fence prefabs. I also took this chance to improve the wind particles, making them flow a bit better and fade smoother, as well as improving the grass density in some areas, because who doesn't love grass in video games?
When I started making a butterfly, I didn't really expect to be deep diving into mindsets and overcoming analysis paralysis or whatever I was going through. Even so, I am glad that I went through it, and I'm equally as happy with how things turned out and what I learned through this process of trying to make the game look pretty, even if half of it wanted to kill me. Don't forget to let me know in the comments how you've tried to make a project look prettier. Doesn't have to be game dev, could be any project, really don't mind. I would love to know. Next steps for me though are probably either giving this barn some TLC or maybe giving these whimsical, dead, lively NPCs, a way to communicate with me and you and the outside world. Because there's no possible way that could go wrong, right? But until then, if you want to help fund the creation of content and fund the machine that will eventually get me out of here, head on over to patreon.com/DarkDax and pledge as much or as little as you'd like. Regardless, I'm glad you even watched. If you'd like to see what else I get up to or how else this game will turn against me, or to simply support the channel, make sure to like and subscribe for more things games, games dev, and all things DarkDax. Now, if you excuse me, you have distracted me far too long to finding somewhere to hide. I'm trying to find somewhere to hide. I don't think you've quite realised the gravity of the situation. This thing won't stop until it kills me. It's like the Predator. It has no other... Oh shit.